Hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Water Goodness and welcome to Goodies So Far. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make an Ankara dress with a long strip collar and a slit in front. This is beginner friendly and it is well detailed. Also, I'm going to be using lining for this. So if you want to learn how to make this type of style using lining, this is your bus stop, okay? So please, if you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please do subscribe so that you get access to more videos when I post them, okay? Don't forget to like this video, comment down below any questions or suggestions that you might have, all right? Now let's get into this tutorial. So guys, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4, okay? So I'm going to be cutting both the front and the back at the same time. I'm going ahead to just rule out my starting line, and then I'm going to take my neck round. I'm using 3 for my neck round because this is going to be having a band. And then for the back, I'm going to make use of 2 inches depth for the back neckline, okay? And I'm going to connect from the round down to the back. There's no need to take the depth for the front, all right? Because we are still going to be cutting out and replacing with band. So we'll get to that later. So just to mark your back neckline, the roundness I used 3, the depth I used 2. Next, I'm going to place my tape rule on my center front and mark my shoulder. My client's shoulder divided by 2. Her shoulder is 16 divided by 2, 8. And then from that 8, I'm going to mark the length of the sleeve. I'm using 10 for the length of the sleeve. So I'm just going to mark 10 right here. Next, I'm going to mark the roundness of the sleeve. I'm making use of 9 for the roundness of the sleeve. So I'm going to mark 9 right here. Then I'm just going to connect this like so. Next, I'm going to go ahead and mark from my shoulder to my bust point, my client's shoulder to her bust point, which is 10.5. So you can see I'm marking that right there. And when I'm done, I'm just going to rule with a straight line. Next is to mark from the shoulder to the under bust, which is 14. I'm going to mark that all the way, and I'm going to also rule a straight line across. Next, I'm going to mark from the shoulder to the waist, which is 17, and I'm also going to be ruling a straight line across. Next, I'm going to be marking from the waist to the hip, which is 9 inches, and I'm also going to be ruling a straight line across. Next, I'm going to be marking the length of my gown. So I'm going to be placing my tape rule from my shoulder down to the length of this gown. The length of this gown is 38 inches. So I'm going to mark 38 inches and also rule a straight line across. The next thing I'm going to do is to take the hemming allowance of this gown. I'm going to be taking 2 inches for the hemming allowance, and then as well, I'm going to be making a straight line down there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to take my client's round measurements. Right at her bust, I took her bust round divided by 4. I'll also, at her under bust, I'm taking her under bust round divided by 4. Then on the waist, I'm taking the waist round divided by 4. And on the hip, I am taking the hip round divided by 4 as well. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect. Now, this gown is not a pencil mouth gown, okay? So on the hem or on the length of the gown, I'm going to be taking the exact thing I took for the hip round. So I'm going to be marking the hip round on the length of this gown exactly. So it is going to come down on a straight line from the hip, just like so. Now, when I'm done, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and take my seam allowance, all right? I'm making use of 1.5 inches for my seam allowance, all right? Because I'm going to be turning this with a lining, so I'm making use of 1.5 inches for my seam allowance. I'm marking my seam allowance. I've marked on my bust points, my under bust points, my waist. Then from my waist, because this is going to be having a pocket, okay? So from my waist on that allowance, I'm going to come down by 1 inch from that allowance line. I just came down by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect my seam allowance from my bust, my under bust to my waist, and then down to that 1 inch. And then from that 1 inch, I'm just going to go ahead and take out my pocket, okay? So my pocket is going to go all the way down to that hip area. All right, so you can see I'm going ahead to just take out my pocket down to the hip area. I'm going to make it deep and then come up again to the hip area. And then from that hip area, I'm going to continue my seam allowance of 1.5 inches all the way down. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to just take out my allowance for my pocket, all right? So I'm going to be using this allowance to stitch in my pocket. Remember, I'm going to still turn this with lining before I join the front to the back. So you want to make use of your seam allowance, okay? Or you want to take out your seam allowance. Next, I'm going to connect the sleeve to the main shaping of the gown and then take out another allowance again to the seam allowance of the gown. Also, at the length of the sleeve, I'm going to also take out my seam allowance because I'm also going to be turning the sleeve. Literally everywhere is going to be turned with lining. So you want to take your seam allowance all the way around. Also on my neck round for the back, I'm taking out my seam allowance, and also on the shoulder, I am taking out my seam allowance. So for the neck round and the shoulder, I am making use of 0.5 inches for seam allowance, okay? Now, guys, next thing I'm going to do is to do a little bit of adjustments to remove zip bulge. Okay, so on the zip allowance area, I came down to my waistline, exactly on my waistline. Right there, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. Then from that 1/2 inch, I am going to rule a line outwards all the way, going up and going down. It is going to come out from that 0.5 inches outwards, going up and going down, just like so. This is going to eliminate zip bulge when I'm done with fixing my zip. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut this out. Now, guys, I am done with cutting this. I'm going to go ahead and separate the front from the back, and then I'll just go ahead and cut out that area that is going to be having a band in front, okay? So you want to go ahead and cut out that area and then replace it with your band so that everything comes out really neat when you are done with making this dress. So the band is going to be 2 inches wide for both sides. So altogether it's going to be 4 inches wide when you open it up. So for one side is going to be 2 inches. Okay, hope you understand. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 inches, right? So I'm marking 2 inches at that center front area from my bust line, the under bust line, the waistline, the hip line, all the way down to the hem of the gown. I am marking 2 inches. When I am done, I'm going to connect all these with a straight line. Now, I'm not going to be cutting directly on these 2 inches, okay? I'm going to be taking out my allowance. That allowance, I'm going to use this to join to the band. Okay, so from that 2 inches, I'm going to come out by 1/2 inch. So that 1/2 inch is going to be the joining allowance to the band that is coming in. Okay, so I'm taking out 1/2 inch outwards. Then I'm going to just connect, and then I'm going to be cutting on that 1/2 inch allowance. Okay. And then from that 1/2 inch allowance, I'm going to connect all the way to my shoulder. So you can see the way I'm placing my pattern ruler, and I'm connecting this all the way to the shoulder point, okay, from that 1/2 inch allowance. Then when you are done, you can now go ahead and cut this out. So guys, you can see what I have here. You should have something looking like this when you are done. And if you followed my um step by step properly, so this is what it is looking like. Next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and cut out my lining pieces for both front and the back, okay? Now I'm going to head to cut out my lining pieces. So you can see I have for both front and back. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to just go ahead and turn my lining for both my front and back. Okay, now, if you're not making use of your lining, just go ahead and skip to the part where I joined by the shoulder, I guess. But if you want to use a lining, or if you want to learn how to use a lining for this, yeah, you can just keep on watching, okay? I'm going ahead to turn this with my lining. For the front, I turned the hem, the sides, and then I left the shoulder and the center front area. Okay, this is the front piece. I turned just the side and the hem, and I left the center front area and the shoulder. Okay, there is a reason for that. The shoulder is going to be joined to the back. The center front area is going to be joined to the band. Now for the back, I joined just the center back area, that is the zip area. I turned the zip area and I turned the hem. I left the neck area, the shoulder, and the sides. So you can see the neck, the shoulder is open, the sides are open. I only turned the zip area and the hem. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to join my front and back by the shoulder. Now, this is the front I'm placing on the back piece. I'm placing the front piece on the back piece right now. I'm going to go ahead and turn this by the shoulder. So we are going to be using that wrapping method where you use the back to wrap the front. So you can see I placed my front on my back. Then I'm just taking the back, the lining of the back to wrap the front. All right. So that way everything comes out really neat on the other side. So you can see I'm just using my pin to hold this together so that I will show you what it should look like when you are sewing this, okay? So you want to go ahead and join this all the way to the sleeve, join your shoulder all the way to the sleeve area. Now you're going to start stitching from the shoulder, leave the neck area. You will stitch from the shoulder down to the sleeve round area, okay? And now when you get to the sleeve round area, you continue stitching the back piece. Remember that the front piece has already been turned with its lining. It's inside, right? It's in between the back piece. So you want to continue turning the back piece with its lining from that sleeve round area down to the side. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going ahead to push in my front piece in between the back piece. So you can see this is my front piece already turned with its lining. So I'm just going ahead to neatly fold it in between the back piece, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and pin this all the way down to the hem. So I'm going to stitch this all the way to the side, to the pocket area, and then leave a little space from where I would turn everything out, okay? So you can see stitch all the way from the shoulder down to the sleeve round area of the back, to the sides of the back, then leave a little space from where you would turn everything right side out. All right. So guys, you can see what I have. I've gone ahead to stitch everything all the way from the shoulder to the sleeve of the back to the sides of the back. Then I left a little space where I will turn everything right side out. So I'm going to be turning this on camera just so you see what it should look like when you are turning this. So you want to make sure that you leave enough space so that it won't be too hard for you when you are turning this right side out, okay? Now you can see what I have. Next thing I'm going to do is to just go in with my scissors from that opening. All right. So I'm just going to try to put my hand there with my scissors and then just bring out all those points, all those edges like on the hem, those points, the edges. Just go ahead with your scissors and bring out all those points. Also, the pockets area is going to go inside. You want to also go ahead and push it out with your hand just so that everything will really come out neat, okay? Also, if you have your iron ready, you can go ahead and just iron this out so that everything is going to be looking really proper and really neat when you are done, okay? Now, when you are done with this, that opening, you want to go ahead and just do a top stitch just to cover that opening up, okay? Now, I've gone ahead to also do this for the other piece. This is one piece. This is one, piece of the gown. I've gone ahead to also turn the other piece. I'm going to place it side by side right now. Now, when I went ahead to place this side by side, I noticed that that opening for my band is no longer looking wide enough because the style I'm trying to recreate, the band is really wide. I think it's up to like 4 or 5 inches wide. So I just went ahead to trim out, that center front area again so that the opening I have is at least up to 4 inches. So now you want to, you should know like how wide you want your band to be. It should also be the same wideness on the main gown, like on the piece, like on this center piece area. It should also be the same wideness so that everything aligns when you are done with sewing it, okay? So you can see now I'm going ahead to measure that wideness, and what I have is exactly 4 inches, okay? Now, the wideness of my band is going to be 5 inches. I'm using extra 0.5 inches on both sides for joining allowance. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the length of this front piece area for the two pieces so that I would know how long my band is going to be. So what I got when I was done with measuring this is 86, that is 43 on each side, 43 on each side. And when I'm cutting this out, I'm going to be cutting way longer than 86 because it is better for it to be way longer, and then you can just cut or trim out the excess than for it to not be enough when you are done with sewing. So just add like extra 5 inches to what you have, and then yeah, you can go ahead and trim off the excess when you are done with sewing this. So I'm making use of this black crepe material. I prefer this to using doll face or silk. I don't know. I prefer using crepe. It really comes out very smart. So yeah, I'm making use of these, and I'm going to be cutting exactly 5 inches, like I said. And remember, I said that the length is going to be way longer than 86. Yeah, so I'm going ahead to cut out 5 inches, and I'm going to be cutting two pieces. Okay, this is the first piece. When I'm done with cutting this out, I'm going to go ahead and cut another piece again. So guys, you can see the two pieces of my band. You can see what it is looking like. Next thing I'm going to do is to mark the depth of my V-neck line. From the shoulder, I marked 9 inches, and I'm going to measure what I have from the back neckline down to that 9 inches all together. And what I got was 13 inches. So I'm going to put my tape rule, and I'm going to measure from the top of this band down to 13 inches, right? So I'm going to start stitching from that 13 inches down. So that means that from this top part to that 13 inches is going to go all the way from the back to the front and then stop at that 13 inches. Now from that 13 inches is going to be where the V neckline stopped. I hope you understand, but yeah, just look at what I'm doing and you would follow me properly. Now I'm just going ahead to mark the center of this band. I'm going to be stitching right on the center of my band, okay? When I'm done with stitching this up, I'm going to give this a very good press, and I'm going to show you how to use hemming gum to hold this all together and make it to look very, very neat. So you can see I've gone ahead to stitch the center front, to stitch the middle part area of my band, starting from that 13 inches that I measured on my main gown or on my main piece. So I'm going ahead to just use my iron to give this a very, very good press. You want to please iron this out very well so that it comes out very, very neat, okay? When I'm done with ironing this, I'm going to go ahead and use my hemming gum to hold this together. Now, the ones that I've made before that I made use of Estee or pepper gum, I didn't really like the feel. That band area was just feeling too hard. I don't know. I didn't really like how it was feeling. So I decided to make use of hemming gum this time around, and I really, really love the outcome of this hemming gum. I prefer it to gum stay, So yeah, you want to try this out if you've never made use of this or if you've never tried this method before. So guys, do try this out, and I assure you, you're going to love the outcome, okay? And now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and pin to the band area of my main piece. I'm going to start from the neckline of the back. You can see I am placing this from the neckline of the back area, which is at this point that I'm going to start pinning from. This is the back neckline. I'm pinning from the back neckline all the way to the front, all the way to the hem. So guys, you can see how beautiful this is already looking. Now I'm going to head over to my sewing machine and stitch this, right? I'm going to stitch one side and then stitch the other side. So guys, I am done with stitching this, and you can see how beautiful and neat it is looking. Now guys, I made a mistake. I am supposed to have a slit at that down area, but I forgot. I'm still going to correct myself, okay? And next thing I'm going to do is just cut out the excess of my band, and I gave 1 inch hemming allowance before cutting. Now what I'm going to do is to go ahead and fold the excess in just like so. So you can see, and I'm just going to hem it just like so. So make sure to leave 1 inch hemming allowance before you cut out the excess, and then go ahead and hem. Also, I made a mistake. I'm supposed to be having a slit. I'm still going to correct myself, okay? Now this is the back area. I'm going ahead to just place the back pieces together. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and fix my zip. So I'm just marking the area where I'm going to be having my zip, and then I'm going to be stitching from the part where my zip is going to end all the way down to the hem. There is no slit at the back, so everything is going to be stitched down all the way to the hem. Then I will fix my zip at the area for the zipper, okay? Now I've gone ahead to loosen the middle parts for my slit. Like I said earlier, I made a mistake. Do not stitch all the way down to the hem. When you are stitching the middle of your band, don't take it all the way down to the hem if you are going to be having a slit. Your slits can be way longer than what I have here. It depends on what you want or what your client wants, okay? Now, if you're going to be having a slit, that means you're going to be folding the hem of the band separately for each slit. So you can see what I have here. Next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and join the front to the back. So you can see we are almost done making this beautiful gown. Now, if you've only learned how to make this gown without any lining, I hope that this tutorial helps you to learn how to make this with lining, also to make it so that it comes out really beautiful, okay? I'm going to head to stitch in the sides. You can see my pocket area. Everything is laying down so beautiful. You can see what it is looking like. I really, really love the outcome of this gown. You can see how beautiful and very neat everything is looking. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to subscribe if you are yet to be subscribed to the channel. Subscribe and get access to more videos when I post them, or get notified of new videos when I drop them. Do not forget to please like this video, engage with my video so that it gets to more people that it might be of help to. Thank you for watching, guys. See you on the next one. Bye.